We are going to discuss Lee Moga. Lee Moga has written an autobiography about himself. In as much as I try to find good words to talk about him, I find none. He plays to be a victim, but is not. He's even worse. Why am I saying so? Why should you, on one hand, wail a lot as a victim, while on the other hand, when you have the slightest chance, you become an oppressor? But we will come to that. Lee Moga was born in 1945. He was among the very first Africans to start a law firm. The first Kenyan African to start a law firm in Kenya was Arkwin Kothek. Arkwin Kothek started a law firm. It was impossible for an African Kenyan to start a law firm. But you see, before coming to Kenya, he had a law firm in Britain. So he was telling the colonial government, how can I have a law firm in Britain and I cannot have a law firm in Kenya? Where else? So you find that Arkwin Kothek was the first Black African to start a law firm. That was in the 50s. And then up to, let's say, the next 20 years, Africans joined law firms that were owned by non-Africans, especially Indians. So that is when Lee Moga was among the first Africans to be the major shareholders in their law firms. This apparently did not please one Charles Njonjo, the then Attorney General. Charles Njonjo believed that Africans were not mature enough law-wise to be considered for many positions. Actually, it took a long time for the first African to even be made a judge in the High Court, and that was none other than Chesoni. So he was among the very first people to start their law firm, and he started his law firm in 1971. He continued with his law firm up to 2003, when he became a judge. I'll come to that. There is a time that he differed with Njonjo, not on a personal level, but because Njonjo believed that Black African lawyers could not make good judges. He even told Lee Moga to his face that as long as Charles Njonjo has something to do with it, that is the word he used. Some people misquote him by saying that he said that so long as I'm alive or anything, he said, so long as I have something to do with it, you can never be a judge. And Lee Moga answered him, yes, so long as you are the Attorney General, that is how it is going to be. But if I were to be the Attorney General, it would have been different. So we can say that him becoming he was among the very, very first people to start their own to start their own law firms, or to have law firms where they are their majority shares. I remember I've just said that he had said that it was Africans used to join as junior partners in law firms, which were headed by Asians and Europeans. And it is funny that we will come to that. it is funny that when they differed with Njonjo, he accepted to be the lead counsel in inquiry into Njonjo. You see, that is why I say, as much as I may try to look for a good thing to talk about him, I don't find a good thing to talk about him. Why? Because if you had differed with Njonjo so much, and then there is an inquiry to investigate Njonjo, you should have excused, you should have said it is a conflict of interest and excused yourself, but he did not. As I said, he started practicing in 1971, and JM Kariuki was killed in March, not even, the month of 1975 was just, the year was just new. So you'd say that between 1971 to 1974, he was JM Kariuki's personal lawyer. Now, for somebody as rich as JM Kariuki, for somebody as famous as JM Kariuki, and for somebody as controversial as JM Kariuki, to have you, a brand new lawyer, because for him to have prepared those things, it has to have happened in 1972 or even 73. Now you have not even practiced 2 years. A prominent person like JM Kariuki hires you as his lawyer. That was a very much a big privilege. But what did you do to JM Kariuki? You turned against him. You turned against him. Hearing that JM Kariuki has just been found dead, you went and burned his things. I have checked on the internet, and I found that Lee Moga had said, he had told the nation as to the reason why he banned the papers, the JM Kariuki's documents. I went to somewhere where, nowadays, because of the internet, we rarely read newspapers like we used to. So I went to the place where I usually get newspapers to try and see if that story is in there. But I couldn't find that. So I don't know what he has said the reasons. But whatever reason it is, there was no justification for him to burn down documents dealing with JM Kariuki. At the very least, if the documents were to implicate JM Kariuki, he should have shared with the immediate family members of JM, the widows especially, because JM's kids were young. They were young, they could not understand the legal implication of such documents. He should have shared with the ladies, the widows. He never shared with anybody. Now, it remains for us to make our own conclusion. And that is the purpose for my recording this. I recorded this in order for me to share with people about my own observation and my own conclusion as an individual, as a Kenyan, and as of an emeritus NIS. I came across, some people ask me, how is it that you authoritatively talk about JM's death when JM died when you were in standard 7? Well, when JM died, very few from force would have wanted to join the police, especially as constables. But 7 years after JM died, here was a Form 6 who joined the police as a constable. So he was placed in the records section in a department that is called Collation and Dissemination of Intelligence. In a department where you read reports and you even wonder, what is the head or tail of that? And you ask those people who are there when JM was alive to share with you so that you can write. They used to say, andika na hiyo kizungu ulisoma, so that you can write in a summarized manner. In those pre-computer days, we used to summarize it for future references. So what I know from the records that I came across in my official capacity is that in the position that JM was, a very much critic of the government. Remember, most of the people who enjoy watching me were not even born when Moi was the president. But during Moi's time and during Kenyatta's time, can I call it during Kanu dictator days? If you had a difference with the government, you had to make your every document of yours be properly kept. Because any slight thing, even right now, you even wonder, why is it that if a certain person wins the presidency, all his friends who are in court, their cases, you hear, no le prosecute, no le prosecute, no le prosecute. And if you are anti-government, the government has all the information about you, especially your weaknesses. So if you are seen to be going against the government rushes straight away to its whatever and gets you. So if JM Kariúki had anything slightly, they would not even have killed him. Although, of course, that particular day, there was not a particular day for killing him. But I'm saying all those plannings that they had done and all those harassment they would have done, if JM Kariúki had any papers or anything that had loose ends, the government, the Kanu government would have taken that opportunity to take him to jail. So Kanu government not taking him to jail means that JM Kariúki had all the things proper, all whatever he had and whatever. I dare say that he knew how to okota kitu kidogo, because he was heavily every involved in National Youth Service with the Israel government. He had a lot of things to do with the Israel government and the starting of National Youth Service. It is quite possible that he got allowances there, and I say allowances in quotes. He was also a personal assistant to the Kenyatta family. You can see Gachagua, hii akili ya kutafuta pesa was okay, he was born as a mtu wa kutafuta pesa, but there's a time when he acquired a lot when he was Uhuru Kenyatta's PA. And even the 2 years that he was the DP, you can see how he did that. So I'm saying that the JM, the vast properties that he acquired when he was heavily involved in the NYS and when he was Kenyatta's family PA. But what I'm saying is that from where I'm seated, I can authoritatively say, and I'm really convinced that there are some things which only the lawyer knew where they were and whatever. And so his destroying of his things were to bar future generations from getting those money. I can say that in as much as we say that JM Kariúki left a lot of property to his immediate family, but it is possible that the immediate family, the maximum they could get is 60%. 40% was grabbed by people like MUTHOGA. And you see, finding a person like him, even thinking of, he was a crook, and he is a crook. You see, you are a crook until you are convicted, then you are sentenced, then you have paid. But if you are a crook and you have not been convicted and you have not served your term, you are a crook, and a crook, and a worse crook. You are worse than even the person who was convicted and taken to court. Because even in heaven, you'll say, I committed a crime and I was jailed for it and I suffered for it. So that for him even to have, it is true that Njonjo was wrong in saying that as long as he has anything to do with it, Lee Moga would never be a judge. But then activities of Lee Moga, the only time that he's not doing bad is when he's quiet. Because take it, if you're a judge, your work is to dispense justice. Now, according to him, which is wrong, which is false, he said that JM Kariúki had so many loose ends that he felt as his lawyer that if those documents went to the wrong, the name of him would be. Let me tell you, when somebody is dead, he's dead. I believe that if I conned you over 1,000,000 shillings and you took me to court, and before the case is determined, I died, the million, it becomes even harder. I'm not saying it is impossible, but it becomes very hard for you to recover whatever I took from you if I've died and it has been taken over by my inheritors. So that is a person who still had dreams of becoming a judge, even though Njonjo had said you can never become or whatever, but it was also bad for what he did for JM Kariúki and by extension JM's family. I remember during the Judicial Service Commission interview for people who wanted to become judges, that one disqualified him because they asked him what was it. He said JM Kariúki had documents which were improper in law, and then they said, so the first duty of an advocate is to look for justice. Now, for you to have come across such documents which are sensitive and which are whatever, and you destroyed them, you are defeating justice. He ended up as, in Kenya we have, in East Africa we have East African Court. For those who remember the case of Mother Karua, when she lost the case of presidential election, she went at the Supreme Court. She went to the Court of East Africa. But you see, according to the Kenyan jurisdiction, is that the presidential election starts at the Supreme Court and ends at the Supreme Court. So even if the East African even if the East African Court of Appeal would have found her in the right, the only two things she may have gained is, one, she may have gained in public image, and second, she may also have been paid financially. Just like we are having the cases of Rigathi. You see, Rigathi is still continuing with the cases. If he wins, he'll not win back the vice presidency, but he will have his head high in the public. And two, the judiciary can declare that he be compensated financially. Lee Moga is now deals a lot. You can see when he was being interviewed by Jeff Koinange, he talked about arbitration. He's a big authority in arbitration, and that is why I also encourage people to do arbitration, although I'm not trained in arbitration. I'm trained in conflict resolution, where the difference is very little. But I would also believe that it is also good to be to go for arbitration. Now, lastly, let us talk about his being the lead counsel for the Njonjo inquiry. As I said before, and I said I'll elaborate. Now I am elaborating. He said that everybody knows that he was the lead counsel for the whatever. And the first thing was, if he were given that opportunity, in the first place, he would have said that we have bad blood between me and Njonjo. You see, we don't even know that if he used that opportunity to settle his difference with Njonjo. And then, as we were listening to the Jeff Koinange live, he said, he talked of the circumstance. I was listening. I was all ears when he said that how he was called to be the lead counsel. You can even see the way he claims to have been. Of course, I trust him, but let us put it this way: he claims that he went to his office. Those days we did not have mobile phones, and his secretary told him that he was needed somewhere. And instead of going to where he was needed, he decided to wait for his colleague. He decided to wait for his colleague and tell his colleague that I'm being called, and in case I'm detained, then no ABCD and whatever. And then that one took over. And then when he went there, he was informed that the government has decided to start an inquest on Charles Njonjo, and we have decided that you'll be the lead counsel. Now, for anybody, and you see some people say that I'm a whistleblower now, that because if you talk to anybody who worked with me in the same station, in the same place, tell you that KwaTenge, he said, you know, the difference is, those days I used to say behind the closed door. But nowadays I say outside the closed doors. That is the only difference. And of course, the environment today also makes me be more bold. You can't touch me. If you touch me, it is known that I've been followed because of what I'm saying. So that is how things are different. But then let me tell you, if imagine you have a difference with Charles Njonjo and you accept to be his lead counsel. Again, the way you are called, you are so much fearful that you wait for your partner in your law firm, a fellow senior partner in your law firm, to tell him that I've been summoned to a certain office to go and I don't know whether I'm going to be detained or not. And then you go to that office and then you're offered a job that you accept. Come on. And then we can see that like all government inquiries, I hope the current HELB, you know, President Ruto has started a HELB inquiry where people are going around universities for town hall meetings, and then whatever that inquiry will on university funding, whatever with that one will come out is what they'll determine about future funding. What I've known, and it has happened so many times, that even this one of town hall meetings of Ruto, I'm suspicious, I'm very suspicious of it, is that the Kenyan government, apart from Jomo Kenyatta, the Kenyan government, apart from Jomo Kenyatta would just do anything he wanted to do because he was an imperial president. But and I want to justify this by saying, when the JM Kariúki report came out, Jomo Kenyatta just called those people and said, can you cancel this, place this, exclude this number? No, I won't allow this. But if you count Moi up to Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, you'll find that, let me talk of Uhuru Kenyatta's last job. He received the TJRC. And he said, when he was receiving the TJRC, that the government would fulfill all the recommendations of the TJRC. As we speak now, none of the recommendation of the TJRC has been implemented. He said the government will implement all recommendation of the TJRC, and the government ignored all the recommendation of the TJRC. That is why I'm saying that even the HELB town hall meeting that Ruto has started for university students, I do not see it doing anything. It will. He has his own plans. He'll just receive that report and say, we will implement all the recommendation, but then I have to tell Ruto that If the things that are happening in the university right now are anything to go by, taking students to Riara University and other Strathmore, Riara, Strathmore, Catholic University, name them. It appears that your funding method would even make students from poor families prefer to go to private universities. But you see, Kipchirchir, my younger brother, if I have to tell you the truth, you are punishing kids from the poor families. You know, before you came up with your new modeling, financing modeling, you did, before you came up with your new financing model, students from poor families used to have harambes. They used to have harambes to take them to the university. Now that you say that the new funding model is friendly for poor families, people are not doing harambes for the poor families, and kids from poor families are not having university education. I'm so saying that people blame me for deviating from this. I'm saying so because Jeff Koinange asked Lee Njiru the the about the Njonjo inquiry. You see, even today, and you see, it is about that inquiry that made me remember all the other inquiries until I remember the latest inquiry, which deals with funding model. Now, take it from me that the Njonjo inquiry, take 2 points from me about the Njonjo inquiry. Just 2 points. One, Njonjo inquiry was brought about because Moi did not know how dealing with Njonjo directly would affect. Maybe there would even be what you saw the recently about Gene C. Maybe such a thing would have happened and Moi would have lost out. Or that is the first issue. Or the other issue was that in the Njonjo inquiry, nothing, not a single point was found there. Now you see, Lee Moga is still insisting that he was found guilty of some things. There is no point, even a single point, that Njonjo was found. It is just those 2 points. One, Moi felt that if he were to take Njonjo head on, maybe things would have happened the way Gene C happened recently. You know, Gene C made us, even me, it made me think that maybe we are going to have a revolution. That is one of the reasons. Moi was not confident on how the country would erupt after Njonjo had just kicked out that way. And two, Moi was buying time. Was buying time. That is part of one. But then part of two, in the Njonjo inquiry, of all the accusations that Njonjo was charged with, he was found with none was proven. And you know, in an inquiry, just like impeachment, you don't have to prove beyond reasonable. The level of proving. I have been in a parliamentary inquiry, what do you call, parliamentary select committee on the death of Robert Ouko, and I know that some of the evidences that we gave, if it were an open court of law, we would not have given those evidence because at best it would be ignored because those are unsubstantiated, and at worst, some people would even have sued us. So Njonjo's inquiry had a lesser evidential requirement, but even with that less evidential requirement, it was not even a single charge was proven. But you find that Lee Moga, even I've not read that book, but the way he was talking before JKL, Jeff Koinange Live, it shows that he just straight away said that some offenses were proven, others were not proven. That is unfair for him, and he's a shame to our country.